Hi, welcome to session 2 for the final week. So this week, or this session, we're going to be talking about theodicy. And just backing up a little bit, okay, what is a theodicy? So what we have in most religions is we have a notion of the divine, and you saw these different notions of the divine. You saw these different creation accounts. And I asked you, okay, in those creation accounts, how did evil enter into the world? And so one of the things that we have to understand is that these religions have to have an explanation for suffering. Because if a religion does not have an explanation for suffering, it's hard to be a convincing belief system, because people will ask this constant question over and over and over again. It's a question that we ask. Why do good people suffer? Why do the innocent suffer? Why do good or bad things happen to good people? And hey, good things happen to bad people too. So, but why, how could there be evil in this world? In spite of having a God or a deity that is just, orderly, loving, kind, that the world is made good. And so you have all of these understandings and notions of the divine as being omnipotent and omniscient. So if God is omnipotent, why do kids have cancer? Okay, so if God is all powerful, if God is all knowing, why does suffering have to happen? And so religions have to provide convincing explanations for these particular questions in order to thrive, in order to be successful. And they change a little bit over time. They get nuanced a little bit over time, but for the most part, these religions have to be able to explain that answer. So we're going to start by looking at the biblical story of Job. You don't have to read the whole book. There's a really good video summary of the account of Job, and goes through and really looks at this question. And God never really answers this. He never really answers it for Job. He doesn't really give him an answer. But it's a great way of looking at this angst of having, it's like, when we think we're doing the right thing, Job is righteous. Job loves God. He thinks he's doing the right thing, and just having these issues and having all these bad things happen to him. And what does he do in response? And so his friends certainly come over, and his wife leaves, and his friends kind of bail on him. I mean, his kids are killed, so they can't really help him out. But his friends constantly say, it's like, okay, there's this whole discussion. It's like, what did you do to piss God off so much? Okay, and so it's a really interesting account of, like, okay, how do we answer that question of, like, what happens when we suffer? And so I really want you to think about some times in your life when you've hit hurdles, when you've hit speed bumps on your path, when you've had to face tragedy. What do you do? Where do you turn? And so how do you answer those kinds of questions of why me? Why now? Why this? Okay, so it's a really, really powerful thing for us to think about. So there's different ways of explaining theodicy, and so what this chapter is, it's really just a series of typologies of, like, okay, this is the karma samsara theodicy that is presented in Hinduism and some aspects of some notions of Buddhism. Okay, there's these 6 other monotheistic theodicies. There's a duality theodicy where there's actually an evil presence, or an evil presence, and good and evil are forces that are fighting it out, kind of into like Star Wars. Well, stories are not evil. I guess you have like the Force, and the Force can be used for good or used for evil. Okay, but you have these two things battling it out. So there's different approaches, different explanations over the history of religions that go through and try to explain this. So this really is just a typology. There's a presentation, but it might be better. I've uploaded the reading. It might be better just to follow along with the reading and go ahead and dive into the reading and just look at these examples. It's really, really helpful to do the reading on this one. And so there's some quiz questions out there as well, and a discussion post as well. So we're going to be doing some things with this notion and really trying to think about, okay, how does this impact the way I view the world? So that's the intro for this session, and I look forward to seeing your responses. All the best.